Alright everyone, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you a video that I really didn't want to have to make. This was meant to actually be a review slash recap of our 3-1 win against Luton Town in the FA Cup. A victory which actually gave me a little bit of hope, which made me feel a little bit more positive going forward about the team's performance. But what this has really turned into is a video regarding the sacking and departure of Frank Lampard as manager of Chelsea Football Club. Looks like Thomas Tuchel will be taking over soon, and I mean, can any of us say that we're really surprised about this happening? No, probably not. I think we all probably saw it, even in the deepest depths, of our soul. We could see that this was probably the way it was going to go. We were hoping and believing that maybe it wouldn't. But at the end of the day, this is a ruthless club that, is pretty trigger happy when it comes to sacking managers. We were in a bad state of form. And when you're in a bad state of form at Chelsea Football Club, the manager is never safe, as we've seen multiple times throughout the previous pretty much 20 years, or at least since Roman Abramovich did come in. And just a little quick note before I start speaking on Lampard with the Luton game. This will basically act as my sort of review this next minute or so. It was a very good game. Obviously there were some chances that were allowed, but I do think that we saw some really nice things. We saw the link up between Tammy and Timo Werner, which some of us have been wanting to see. It looked like it was going very well. We saw some great performances from Mount, captaining the side. If you guys wanted to know my player of the season point scoring system points, I'll give 1 point to Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount and Billy Gilmour, as I think they all played very well. Hudson-Odoi yet again making a difference when he does come onto the field. And I was going to give 2 points as well to Tammy Abraham, obviously scoring the hat-trick. And I won't give them all 3 though, because it was obviously just a win against Luton at the end of the day. But that performance actually did give me a bit of hope. We started seeing some good passages of play. They are still a Championship side, so whilst easier, they're not like Morecambe, who obviously were a League 2 side. And I think that the new formation, the new system seemed to be working quite well, and I was at least intrigued or excited to see if we would incorporate this into the game against Wolves. But obviously the board and those in charge of Chelsea didn't see that it was worth taking the risk, I suppose, to get to that Wolves game with Frank Lampard still in charge. And it's just a big shame to see. I mean, I don't really understand what anyone was expecting, really, bringing in Frank Lampard at this, this stage of his managerial tenure, when it was his second only full season as manager. He overachieved, got us 4th place, integrated the youth when probably a lot of managers wouldn't even have chosen to do that, even with the transfer ban. I mean, let's not mention that, he was probably the only manager that would have taken that job, and definitely deserves credit for doing so. And I mean, at the end of the day, this is just a poor bit of form. Don't get me wrong, Chelsea should never be 9th place, but as we've seen with all these other teams this season, they've all had their blips, they've all had their ruts. Liverpool are technically, points-wise, in a worse rut than us at the moment. Obviously a bit higher in the table, though. So, and we've seen Ole and Arteta turn it around. Even at one point, Man City looked like they were in a bit of a rut. They turned it around, and are now looking like they could win the league. So I don't really see why Lampard wasn't given until the end of the season. We're still in the FA Cup, still in the Champions League. But, when you are a Chelsea fan and you've gone through all of, these prior sackings, you always sort of knew it was coming. And I mean, hopefully it's just not on bad terms. Hopefully, I guess best case scenario one day is Lampard can gain some managerial experience at other clubs and then come back eventually, maybe in 10 years' time, and pick up where he left off. Who knows what Chelsea will look like at that time, though. One thing that I'm a bit worried about is how our youth is going to basically progress or be used now that we don't have Lampard, because pretty much none of our managers apart from Lampard have really integrated the youth in the team well. I mean, the last youth player that was really given a chance before Loftus-Cheek was John Terry, which was obviously ages and ages ago, before I even really started watching football. So it just goes to show how, Lampard really gave a breath of fresh air to this club, and how, he will leave his mark. I mean, he got us Champions League, and he's left the squad in a better place than it was when he joined, bringing in all of these youth players who are unproven, untested, and a lot of them have turned out to be really good and really great. Reece James, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Hudson-Odoi beginning to break into the team and, get a bit better from that long injury he had. yeah, I just think it was personally. I think it was a matter of the time before things turned around and we started seeing some results. But it's a cutthroat business, and that was what happened. Part of me wonders if he already knew he was going to be fired before that Luton game, and maybe that's why he gave someone like Mason Mount the captaincy, someone that's always obviously been playing and trying his hardest under him. Maybe there was an issue with the squad depth. Maybe we had too many players in the team, and obviously some of the more experienced ones not playing. Maybe they turned against him a bit. I don't know. I don't really want to speculate. At the end of the day, he is just an inexperienced manager, and these ruts were always going to be expected. Like, a young player, they're going to be inconsistent. A young manager is going to be inconsistent. And whilst I can understand why you maybe wouldn't want to take on an inexperienced manager, the fact that we did kind of would have suggested that we were, willing to give him a chance, and that we would have thought about all the possibilities that would have happened. But apparently not. Apparently that's not what happens. It might have been the plan all along just to bring him in for the one season and then get someone else. But I don't think that was ever really made clear, to be honest, with the way that we, kept him along. And I don't know. I think we all just thought it would maybe be a bit different. And to be honest, I think we're now basically just going to go back to the merry-go-round of managers. I don't know too much about Tuchel. I know he's a great manager. Obviously got PSG to the Champions League final. Broke all sorts of records, 4 points in the French league as well. So nothing against him. Definitely will support him when he does come in. And I'm sure, he'll do some good things. But especially when he's obviously got a bit of a reputation of fragmented relationships with players and staff, you just know that he's going to last probably about 2 years. We'll bring in someone else, they'll last probably about 2 years. And that cycle's just going to keep going. And I mean, Chelsea will just, I guess, never change in that regard, and we have to get used to it. But I guess it was good while it lasted, the 1.5 years of seeing the youth come through, of seeing, a club legend take charge. And there'll definitely be some really great memories in there with Lampard as the manager. And hopefully, like I said, it's not the end. I mean, hopefully as well, it's not our last chance of some long-term, philosophy with a manager. Maybe John Terry is still, he's going into management, and obviously Lampard could come back. So there's always the possibility of that, and then hopefully that does happen one day, but I just don't think it will be for a while now. So we have to still get back in tune with the short-term successes of the managers. I mean, yeah, it's just a shame. It's a sad day for Chelsea fans. I think at least most of us, obviously some of us wanted Lampard to be sacked. Yeah, I don't even know what to think of those people. Really, just very, I guess, impatient Chelsea fans who have maybe just gotten used to the way that Chelsea are, which you can sort of understand. But why some people didn't want to necessarily buy into the idea of maybe changing our identity a bit and maybe giving a manager a chance. I don't really know why. Having the identity and legacy of a club that just bins managers and then picks new ones up, basically the merry-go-round of managerial changes. It's just something I wanted to get away from. We've had a lot of success. I didn't see the issue of maybe taking a few seasons off, maybe not doing so well, but to maybe give the club a bit of more of a long-term identity. But it just didn't happen. So, Lampard is gone now. It's a shame. We can, moan about it all we want. We can be upset all we want. But we do, unfortunately, just have to move on for the moment. Don't know what's next for him. Like I said, I hope he sticks to management, does well in other places and can come back. Maybe he'll just go back to being a pundit. Obviously, Gary Neville, managed Valencia, failed. I mean, Lampard's obviously done a bit better as a manager. Got Derby to the playoffs. Got Chelsea, to that top four when no one thought they'd get there. So I do think there'll be other teams that will be there to pick him up. And hopefully he can have a successful career. Whichever team he does take charge of will basically be my second team, and a team that I will back and hope does well. So all the best to him. He will always be a legend. His legacy is definitely not it has definitely not been tarnished by this stint, as like I said, he did overachieve and has done something that a lot of Chelsea managers never did, which is implement some young academy players. But just going to Tuchel quickly, part of me was thinking, what is our team going to look like? How is not just the managerial change going to affect the fans, but how is it going to affect the players? Obviously, some players probably wanted Lampard to be gone. We know what the player power at Chelsea is like. I was hoping that would have been gone with Willian, with Pedro, with David Luiz all leaving, but maybe not enough left. Maybe we still had a few that maybe weren't getting the game time they wanted. Yes, so I'm wondering how this will affect the players. Tuchel coming in, will he, stick by some of the youth Lampard has established? I do hope so. It's definitely a nervous moment because, like I said, Lampard's the only manager who's really done this. So will Tuchel come in, and will we, see the decline of Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi, even Mason Mount, who is probably the first player on the team sheet right now. But with some other quality midfielders that we have, who are on paper internationals, who are maybe seen as more established by some, maybe they could displace him. So that could be a scary moment. So I've actually made a little template of a team that I think that Tuchel might go with at the start. Obviously, maybe a factor is it's January at the moment. Maybe we're looking to bring him in, and maybe he'll make a signing. I don't really know. I don't really know who that could be. But yeah, so the team on the thing that you can see is a bit of a different team, and I'm not saying this is a team that I would personally choose if I was managing Chelsea, but basically taking into effect that he's German, and he's had great success. It'll be in a high pressure situation, which is I think the main reason why youth was never really used at Chelsea was because of the high pressure situation managers were under, that they couldn't really risk using youth players. So as you can see, it's basically still a 4-3-3 because that's what he plays. He sometimes can adopt like a 4-2-2-2 depending on other things. But I have still got Mason Mount in there. I was actually tempted to put in Mateo Kovacic, just because I just have so much little faith in any other manager using the youth from just the times before Lampard that I am a bit nervous. But I still think that some players, Reece James, I think he'll be okay. I think he's too good a right back to not be used. I've got Rudiger back in the team. I'd still think that Zuma is a way better centre back, but the German connection of Tuchel, maybe that's gonna give Rudiger a bit of a push that he needs. Obviously Havertz, Werner back in the team, sort of got Havertz a bit further up. Maybe we'll see a kind of front two-ish, like a 4-4-1-1 sort of type of deal. I think he'll ultimately, when defending, maybe go to a 4-3-3 though, which is what Tuchel likes to play. But and obviously Pulisic, he plays with him obviously at Dortmund. And yeah, so maybe some players I'm a bit worried about. What does this mean for Hudson-Odoi? What does this mean for Tammy Abraham? I'm not too sure. I mean, hopefully they'll be good enough to prove themselves and get a place in this team. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to think now about some of the players we've got on loan. I mean, it's not a good sign, being on loan. When a new manager comes in. So what's this going to mean for Ampadu, for Gallagher, for Loftus-Cheek? It could mean that their time at Chelsea is up, which would be very sad to see. And I know maybe seems a bit negative, but I'm just sort of trying to rack my brain around how things used to be before Lampard. And yeah, I just think that basically there'll be a lot of Chelsea players that maybe we saw a future for that maybe unfortunately won't have it. I mean, Tomori is probably just as good as gone, really. I don't see AC Milan not buying him. I mean, maybe that was the sign of of Lampard losing, some of his say in the club, or the fact that they were going to get rid of him, is the fact that he didn't want Tomori or he said that he had long-term plans for Tomori and that he'd be a future Chelsea great, and we loaned him out with an option to buy. So what does that say about, what the club were thinking of Lampard, about a week ago? So, and obviously there was talks about us talking to Tuchel for the last week as well. I think that, it pretty much showed with some of the things that happened looking back that, yeah, maybe he was losing a bit of his stead at the club, but that doesn't make it all the more sad. I personally still would have liked to believe that he would have turned it around. We'll just unfortunately never know. We'll just be living in hypotheticals on that. But yeah, like I said, wish him all the best. Hopefully, this is not the last we've seen of him at Chelsea Football Club, and hopefully he'll be back one day with a bit more experience and to prove that he's a great manager. And yeah, I mean that's basically it, guys. There's not much more to say about that, really. Just yeah, pretty gutting. And I guess we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully we win all the rest of our games and get top four and win the league and win the Champions League. It's not going to stop me from backing the club, nor should it stop anyone else from doing so. We all knew what we signed up for as Chelsea fans, basically. But yeah, I guess yeah, Chelsea will just are yet to change at the moment, and maybe we'll never do as long as Abramovich is in charge. And I mean, I have nothing against Abramovich being in charge because he's brought us so much success. So I guess this is the hardships of football, and I mean, hey, at least it means that there's never a dull moment as a Chelsea fan, is there? We're always either having great success or the manager's being fired, So I guess there's something like that. But it makes great content, I guess. However, I really did not want to have to make content on Lampard's departure. That is for sure. But we have to move on. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, or at least my take on Lampard's departure. I guess leave a like, comment down below your thoughts if you thought it was the right decision or wrong decision, and maybe we can have a little debate or share our opinions in the comments section. And as always, do subscribe for more Chelsea FC content. Obviously my preview for Wolves, which will probably be Tuchel's first game in charge. I'm assuming he's going to come in straight away. So that should be an interesting one, especially against a side that's not going to be too easy to face. So will be interesting how he lines up about that. Some other news, my Fantasy Premier League preview will be out later today as well, and I've actually going to be bringing back the West Ham Career Mode 2 for some of you that may be missing that series. Definitely want to finish Season 3 off at least. So that's it guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video as much as you could. Obviously, still a pretty sad time for Chelsea fans, but we just have to stick together and hope that things will improve. And hope you guys all do enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you have a nice week, and I'll see you next time.